space above the head and kind of in the center, and that's about it. And I try to keep other people out of it. All right, are you ready, David? Test the mic.
Test the mic.
All right.
Tested.
Wait a minute.
Test
Oh, it is going. It is going. Hallelujah, brothers. We're here once again.
Sacred's checklist, and this is the short version.
Short version.
Short version, as opposed to the long version. Poetry of all kinds, ladies and gents, is welcome, but do not we do. But yeah, well, we do.
Ooh, John
Easy for me to
Coltrane.
say, but we do ask you to respect the mic. Don't spit on it. Keep conversations to a whisper.
Whisper.
Put phones on mute or vibrate, and do not distract the speakers or pass in front of them. Also, keep to the time limit, usually 5 minutes, but that can change.
That can change.
Remember, we have 2 shows, the 7-ish and the 8:40, so I ask for generosity. Give me your firstborn. By going short, it helps to get everyone on the mic all at one time. If you want to be in the loop, forget about Chicago, come here. We are an opt-in email list, a Facebook page. We stream live, and we just hang here. Thanks to Mr. Natural, the Natch.
Woo!
So we are the Natch Patch.
Ooh, the Natch Patch.
We remember the ongoing theme. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens, that will you all, can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has, said Margaret Mead. The evening's theme is?
The evening theme is, thanks to Mr. Sanderell,
In action.
in action.
In action?
In action.
In action.
So we are in action or inactive?
Yes.
He said he
In
preferred the
action.
one word, but
He
he can
prefers
use
the one word.
In action?
Yes.
So like doldrums. Okay.
And crying out
I will now
loud.
take an 8-minute break. No.
Okay.
All right.
Also, next week's feature will be?
Next week's feature
Next
will
week's
be
feature will be?
Avacha!
Oh, Avacha!
Woo!
I gotcha, Avacha! Now as to the first show, the keynote will be...
The keynote is
Stephen H.
Stephen Hendrick.
Stephen H.
Right?
Never. Okay. Our feature is...
Our feature is Brett Benson, who is right there.
Oh,
Give him a right,
great.
give me the King's Wave.
We'll give the Queen's Wave. As to the second show, the last word will be...
Brit.
The Brit.
Britt Peter.
The Brit Peter. The
Oh,
mini
God,
feature
yes.
is
Mini
Tommy
feature is Tommy
Amicola.
Tommy, I'm going to
And we have fabulous door prizes.
which I'm going to go through, but I'm looking for something that I can't find, but I just found it. Thank God for my memory.
There it is.
Okay, so the
Here they
door
are.
prizes.
These they are.
Who the fuck cares about Virginia Woolf? Sorry, no time.
I'm afraid of her.
Thank you. These are size 32s. They're shorts. There's a long story, but the short of it is they're here. They're not mine. I don't want them. They can't fit me.
And they may even be clean.
And they're completely, absolutely went through the laundry cycle twice, actually. I don't know. Dylan Thomas's Under Milkwood, in case you want that.
Well, it keeps coming and going.
It does. Now the thing about this, Hal Robbins brought this. It's a hoot. Outdated advertising, sexist, racist, creepy, and just plain tasteless ads from the pre-PC era. I mean, I went through this and was like, oh my God, I remembered something. Now this is dress clothes of the Plains Indians, so it's a textbook type description of things, and it has illustrations and stuff like that there. This is John Coltrane live in Seattle. Whoever brought this just now. So this is going to be great.
Heavy duty.
And then this is, if you were my age or about there, you might remember Ecotopia. Here is the book. All right. Then there are the not the non-door prizes, or there are door prizes, but they're not
The
material.
cards. It's in the cards.
Being the mini feature, which today will be
Tommy A.
Tommy A. The last word, which is
Britt.
Britt Peter. The keynote, which is Stephen. Choosing the theme, Sanderell chose in action. And the co-pilot, you can see someone who is suffering mightily because of their choice. I do have an announcement.
Go ahead.
Announcement, Richard Sanderell is not here today because of an event that he's going to that he wasn't aware that he was going to, but now he is. So he wanted to make an announcement that he, Richard, and Greer Roquette and Louis Romero are all going to be together performing at Adobe Books this Saturday, 7 p.m. Adobe Books on 24th Street. It's for a good cause, namely the bookstore. So they're trying to
Which is treading water, so
and,
attend.
so go there, be square, and you know it's a great thing. It's a great group. They've been here several times and really do a wonderful job. So I wanted to make sure I got that in there. That's the thing I was looking for. I told them I would make an announcement.
Be advised,
Be advised.
Although there's an echo in here, we do record the evening. If an audience member wishes to do so, please ask permission. We will assume you've done so well. We'll assume you've done great. We'll assume you've done so.
Yes. Like my mom used to say, when you assume you make an ass out of you and me. Oh, for next time? Oh, the revisionist and the pastorals, Douglas Crane. Now, she just gave this to me, so I'm going to put it in the mix.
All right.
Hiya!
Keynote. Come and get it.
Stephen, come up here. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Break it open. And then, yeah, there we go. And then I'll give you the attribution thing.
I already said.
Oh, you're already
way ahead of you.
Jesus and a hamburger. I thought this was you.
And Moses and French fries.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
I'm going to read 2 poems by Sherman Alexie from his collection First Indian on the Moon. The first one is dedicated to Richard Sanderell.
Just get really close to the mic. A little bit, yeah.
First of all, for choosing the theme of inaction and then not showing up in class. And also for reminding us constantly that we are living on stolen land. This first one's called On the Amtrak from Boston to New York City. The white woman across the aisle from me says, look at all the history. That house on the hill there is over 200 years old, as she points out the window past me into what she has been taught. I've learned little more about American history during my few days back east than what I expected, and far less of what we should all know of the tribal stories, whose architecture is 15,000 years old. Then the corners of the house, 15,000 years older than the corners of the house that sits museumed on the hill. Walden Pond, the woman on the train asks, did you see Walden Pond? And I don't have a cruel enough heart to break her own by telling her that there are 5 Walden Ponds on my little reservation out west, and at least 100 more surrounding Spokane, the city I pretend to call my own. Listen, I could have told her, I don't give a shit about Walden. I know the Indians were living stories around that pond before Walden's grandparents were born, and before his grandparents' grandparents were born. I'm tired of hearing about Don fucking Henley saving it too, because that's redundant. If Don Henley's brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers hadn't come here in the first place, then nothing would need to be saved. But I didn't say a word to the woman about Walden Pond, because she smiled so much and seemed delighted that I thought to bring her an orange juice back from the food car. I respect elders of every color. All I really did was eat my tasteless sandwich, drink my Diet Pepsi, and nod my head whenever the woman pointed out another little piece of her country's history. While I, as all Indians have done since this war began, made plans for what I would do and say the next time somebody from the enemy thought I was one of their own.
Wow.
And this one is called Genetics. Fire follows my family. Each spark, each flame, a soldier in the U.S. Cavalry. First, it was the fire in 1973. Flames dropped from the attic of our old house and burned every quilt we owned. Cousins and neighbors came from miles away to carry furniture, clothes, our smallest possessions from the house, but they all arrived too late to save much. All we had left was a family portrait, singed, curled at the edges of all our dark skin, darkened by ash and smoke damage. Next was the trailer fire in Montana that stole my older sister, stole her husband, stole her little library of books that included a few she had borrowed from me. All I could think, all I could ask when I found out about the fire was, did my books burn? Since then, we've lost 3 cars to electrical fires: 1981 Chevy Blazer, 1978 Ford Mustang, 1984 Ford van. The last while my younger sister was driving it along Little Falls Dam, and she looked into the rearview mirror and saw flames rising up. She was listening to Freddie Fender when it happened, listening to Before the Next Teardrop Falls. When she stopped the van, turned off the radio, jumped out and ran down the road. She made it a few feet when the van exploded and knocked her over. When the tribal cop heard on his radio that a car was burning down at Little Falls Dam, his first thought was, those damn Alexis and their goddamn cars. He told my sister that, as they both watched the van burn down to bare frame. The tribal cop told my entire family that when he drove my sister back to our house. We all laughed at the odds, not because they were astronomical, even though they were. We laughed at the magic of it all. Laughed at how precise every little pain can be. Laughed at the fire that threatened us continually. Laughed when the tribal cop asked my father if he smoked. And my father said, only when I'm on fire. Some nights I have this dream that my family sits down to dinner. I want it to be Thanksgiving dinner, but I cannot be sure. We sit down to dinner, and one by one, we all spontaneously combust until we're just piles of ash on secondhand chairs. Then my grandmother, Big Mom, comes back to sweep us up with her traditional broom, sweeps us all into her beaded bag, and carries what remains into the next life, into the next element. I don't care if it's earth, water, or wind. I just want to be done with fire, with flame and ash.
Thank you, Steven. He'll be back in the open mic if we do that.
They still not to walk in front of the.
Yeah, you walk right there. Yeah, hurry up. Yeah, everybody waiting for you.
Oh,
It is me.
no. Julian Stevens, give him a round. Co-host of the evening. And I will focus it in on you. There you go, you're looking good.
Sorry. So no guitar tonight. I'm gonna do a bit more traditional poetry. I'll start off with something a bit more in action, and then I'll do something more lighthearted, I guess. So the first one's called, when I find it, hold on. First one's called Friends. What's the difference between a friend and a friend? The friends that are easy to talk to, but you never really talk to about anything of any real substance. The friend that you get along with and have some shared interests, but possibly many more unexplored commonalities. Unexplored because while they're fun to hang out with when you see them, it's not like you really call each other up to set up a meeting. The friends that are not exactly your peers, colleagues, or acquaintances. I mean, they're friendly friends. They're friends that you would introduce to others as your friends. But in the end, you're not really friends. Friends are hard to find when friends are hard to define. So this next one I wrote last week after visiting my friend in Sacramento for Pride. My best friend's a lesbian, and while I was up there, we went out and I met someone, but turns out she was a lesbian as well. So and I ended up talking to a friend back in Indiana about run-ins like that out here, and he's like, I didn't know it happened that often. I was like, yeah. So it led to this poem. I'm a straight cisgendered male living in San Francisco, and I have a crush on a lesbian. Yet again. But I'm guessing that I've just been diagnosed with lesbianitis, as in every woman that I have an inkling of an interest in simply has no interest in men in the slightest, so that's just righteous. I'm a straight cisgendered male living in San Francisco, and I have a crush on a lesbian. It happens more often than you think. Thank you.
Oh, so that was you.
That was me. So
Okay,
we have
so
Naomi.
Okay, Naomi, who? Wait a minute. She is new. This is her first time here.
Let me just find my papers.
Yes, that's what we do for new people here. We let them know they are certainly welcome because they are welcome. Are you going to read this evening?
Thank you. Not this evening.
Not what?
Not this week.
Oh, okay. All right.
Next week I wanted to see.
Okay, you want to see what it's like.
Yeah.
I hope that didn't deter you at all. We do that for, but sometimes when I forewarn people, so you know, in case they don't like that, you know, they might get. Okay, let me just stop beeping this thing here.
Yeah,
Stop it! There we go. All right.
This is called I'm Sorry. I'm sorry I set your bed on fire. But I got so happy lying next to you, I forgot to be mindful of danger. Before last night, I'd never made love with anyone except myself, and I was amazed and dozy, stunned by how deeply we touched. When we finally pulled apart, I felt like I was somebody. Felt like an old-time movie star, the kind who would smoke cigarettes after an after-sex indulgence. I usually don't buy cigarettes, but there's a chemistry exam on Monday, and this week I needed some soothing yang energy. So I've been carrying a pack of Marlboros in my pocketbook. I wished you'd stayed awake to smoke with me, but also I got shy. Like maybe I needed to inhale and exhale privately
Oh yeah.
to ponder how much I love you. I'm glad you sleep so lightly that you want a fire extinguisher and you put out the flames before they leapt on anything beyond your bed. I'm sorry you went back to sleep by yourself on the couch and gave me a thin blanket to take to the bathtub. I'm sorry I'm much longer than your bathtub. My back hurts now. I still feel cold. I'm sorry you avoided looking at me this morning and only shook your head when I offered explanations and apologies. I'm sorry you only made dry toast for breakfast. I was really longing for butter. At least, I'm glad I was smart enough not to mention that, in a way, I liked that morning scent of your apartment. It reminded me of being a kid, how I smelled strong scorch upon the air when people used to burn leaves in October and Halloween was on the way. I'm sorry that after lovely Halloween, fall seriously settles in. It's my least favorite season, those months of fall when green things start to die.
Thank you.
Is there time for another one, or you just do one?
We got about 2 minutes.
Okay.
To 1.5 to something like that.
Okay.
All right.
Always people hunters found their sustenance through dreams. Seeing hunters envision what they needed, an animal's color, perhaps her tree, her underbrush. Feeling hunters sense the texture of fur, intricate knit of bones, a musky smell. Listening hunters got quiet enough to hear a heart song. The creatures wished to survive or sometimes to love, to sacrifice meat and breath so that others would not starve. Although I tried for many years, I could not bear a child, and I feared that I might die from lack of the daughter who was meant for me. I searched for you with all my faculties, but only my ears could find you. I'd awake with longing in the middle of the night, and at first I'd assume it was my own heartbeat pressing against silence. But the thrumming I heard was quick and fresh, light rhythm of a little girl. As soon as the adoption people told me your name, its syllables echoed through my spirit like clapping hands, like faraway thunder coming home to a winter sky. I hope that we would always recognize each other's sounds. After you grow older, I will tell you the story of the polar bear, how she sometimes sleeps so sound in her cave she gives birth without awakening. When she rouses, the first thing that she will hear is cubs growling softly, nuzzled close to her ivory body and greeting their new world. How she will love the hibernation babies more urgently than her other children, for they are the most miraculous small beasts, gifts from her deepest dreams. Thank you.
Buford, the mighty Bunton is coming up. And then we got Owen, George,
Mighty
Stephanie,
Bunton will
Marvin,
swim away.
Richard, David, me, Alice,
I could only pitch, man. I couldn't hit.
Nanette Febre, Lauren McCall, Alan Harris. Oh, he's not here.
Thanks.
And Jean-Luc Picard.
Star Trek, huh?
No, not that Jean-Luc.
Not that dumb.
Come on. The other. Alan Funt used to have that used to be his nickname. All right. Go ahead, dear.
GGU. My students at Golden Gate University here in San Francisco were quite interesting. All in their 20s except one, an older quote-unquote student in his mid to late 30s. I got a fresh group of students the second semester I worked. Altogether, I had 7 students. I had 4 one semester and 3 the other. That was because there was an overrun in the other classes. So this was really a great thing, sort of. It was really, as I wrote here, sort of heavenly. I assigned essays 400 to 600 words according to the syllabus I was given by the head of the department. My supervisor was a former classmate at New College of California, which no longer exists. Though I got a job through Les, my classmate. I had been teaching at New College of California for about a year, also, in various subjects. The classes were called poetics, but what I taught wasn't poetics. So it was kind of to give students like more of an accreditation, I think. And I actually taught children's literature. My students were from various countries in Asia, from Japan, from China, from a couple of other Asian countries, Vietnam, very nice people, but with one bad habit. The entire class, except for one student, missed 3 or 4 classes in a row. I guess I figured, they're such small classes, it really didn't count. However, I emailed them all and told them that if they didn't come back, they weren't going to pass. So they came back in droves, if you want to call them four people a drove, that's what they did. They turned in the work in like I said, small droves. They were 400 to 600 word essays, and I got some pretty good work. I like teaching at Golden Gate.
Owen Dunkel,
And then George.
and then George
Stephanie,
Lister, Stephanie, Marvin, Richard, David, Alice. Foster Crowley. He said he'd show up. Oscar Wilde. He canceled.
Oh, he did?
Damn it.
Oh, he sent me in his place.
Yeah, I got you.
You're on.
We got you in. And Jimmy, we wrote you in. So, all right, Mr. Owen, you're ready to go.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
April Fool. One that I'll roll on another day. Pity my world on April and no earth to see the sun wane and the moon to shine like new. It made me wonder where it has been. I've looked through my window and I've not found it. Maybe it has been hiding on the edge of Northumbria, but I have not seen it since it hid behind to cry at the sun and pine away for the clouds and rain. The wind has made the earth cool and forbidding, and I, fool's fool, will remain so, or I am not your Uncle Dunkle getting drunkle
Darn it!
on wine and words and a Lord who knows.
Go Drunkle.
Titanic. Sunk below, the quiet ship lumbers beneath the waters in the freezing North Atlantic. Storm and ice, sneezing in storms, San Francisco cold numbers. The magic is not in the air, slumbers in nothing, being in nothingness, wheezing and coughing, wondering what fiery, sleazing sort who must take a fumbler with words, a would-be sonneter like myself, the always present Big O's, paddling my pencil towards the open mic of Bethlehem, born-again gigolos who cannot get a date, no way to relate, rate, or create anything new. A short poem. If I were a little man, a 1-inch tall plastic cowboy, a kid's little man, I could climb upon a line of iambic pentameter, then swing on a hexameter, as if they were monkey bars. Poonder in heaven, our cat who lusted up and down our backyard, fell around, was slain by old age, and listing onto the right side had jaundice-looking fish pond eyes, had a murky patience looking through our looking glass lives. Lying on the beach, I watched a guy about as old as I am do push-ups. Pretty good push-ups, almost perfect. He did 25, then ran in place. Pretty good for a man his age. I made an exit back to the 71 to the city, the noise of the imagination. Lord Morty's castle. Little rocks of ideas, the boards shall bend another sky when tomorrow rise, waiting upon wanting, not to wait to want, as though you are waiting on another tomorrow that does not peer upon your peers. They are among us. The uninspired day sits as a boat tied to a pier on a calm day, like Winslow Homer without his come hither passion and longing into the distance of clouds. And you forget what you are about to say. My thoughts excuse me. My thoughts are fragments of sentences. Things I tried to say, if I can only line up in front of me like shells in a shell and bee game. Villanelle, 2012. The day's as calm as it should be. The stars smile because we are here. The night to be is as dark as the sea. The sky at the beach blue and me, my friend, it is that my fear. My dear, the day is as calm as it should be. The calm is calm, the kitty, her heart is not clear. My mind is as dark as the sea. Tonight the stars are love. Tea and nectarines are symbols, mere calm on waters, today as it can be. Close to dusk, passion, quiet, tree and squirrel dance together, for near tonight to be the dark of the sea. Can't speak, slowly, slowly we accept the dawning sky. Fear the day's as calm as it should be. Tonight my mind is as dark as the sea.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Art. All right. George. The
Stephanie.
Honorable George Lister.
Stephanie.
Antonio Ciparelli sends his regards.
Thanks. Thanks. This piece is long, so if you want to hear the rest of it, gotta come back next week. It's called Welcome to New York. The ad was for a sublet on East 81st Street. I got out of the subway at 86 in Lexington and hurried through crowded streets to make my 11 o'clock appointment with a woman who was about to leave for 6 months. 6 months would be perfect, just enough time to settle in and figure out if I wanted to stay in town for a while. It was 1967. I was 23 and 1 year out of college. I'd avoided Vietnam, worked a couple of unrewarding and tedious jobs in my hometown of Philadelphia, decided to move to New York, and found an entry-level position with a marketing research firm called N.T. Farizos and Associates. Farizos was located on the 29th floor of 500 Fifth Avenue, the intersection of Fifth Avenue and 42nd Street. The day I received the offer, I stood on that corner, which I considered the center of the universe, taking it in for a long time. Nobody just stands on that corner, so a lot of people in a hurry bumped into me. I think it was the last time in all the years I lived in New York City I didn't care about being run into. As I was about to ring the bell on the ground floor, 81st Street flat, the door opened and a Manhattan Vision sparklingly smiled, saying, "Hi, come on in." She had a ringing voice that seemed to say country, maybe Midwest, and the largest pair of hoop earrings I had ever seen. The flat had a nice feel to it, sensible furniture, well-equipped kitchen, tasteful stuff on the walls, and a quiet bedroom with a door to a hard-to-believe it's New York City garden. Some weird caution said, don't take the first thing you see, so I told her I'd think about it and get back as soon as I could. As I walked out and turned right, I began feeling I was walking away from home. I made it to First Avenue, then right again to 80th Street, up 80th to 2nd Avenue, right on 2nd, then right on 81st to the first apartment of my own. I rang the bell. This time she wasn't so sparkly. "Oh, sorry, somebody just took it." Welcome to New York. Some years later, I recall telling a friend who was visiting from out of town and asked why everybody was moving so fast. They're all looking for a place to live. 2 blocks north and 1 block further east was 433 East 83rd Street, a 5-story newly renovated walk-up building not quite finished. It looked clean, and there was 1 studio apartment still available towards the back on the 3rd floor. I had learned my lesson: act fast, or I may never find a place to live. The agent told me the place would be ready July 1st, almost a month away. Until I found my own place, I had arranged to stay a few weeks with Joe, the husband of my mother's Aunt Eva, on 96th Street between Madison and 5th. Eva wasn't really my mother's aunt, but my mother always referred to her that way. Eva was spending the summer in the house she and Joe owned in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Joe bussed himself there every Friday night and back to the city on Sunday. The weekends apart were a relief for both of us. I doubt that Joe had been asked if he minded putting me up until I found a place to live. He hated sharing his space. After a few weeks, and just as I was about to move out, Joe found a reason to change the locks. His doorman told him I had a wild party while he was away, when all I had was 1 woman for a quickie on the couch I used as a bed in the non-air-conditioned living room during the hottest June on record. Joe and I lasted less than a month. Once he kicked me out, we never saw each other again. My first day of work at Farizos, I woke up under a clammy wet sheet, which was my only cover on the living room couch I was given as a bed. Joe spent almost all the time we were in the apartment together watching loud television in his air-conditioned bedroom. He came out only to eat in the kitchen, which was just off the living room. He left early every day, and when I said goodbye those first few days, he grunted. Pretty soon we were grunting at each other like a pair of wild dogs. Am I about done?
Yeah, you got about like 20 seconds.
Okay. While Joe did his usual banging around the kitchen, I took advantage of a free bathroom and washed off the sweat from sleeping in the stifling living room, whose one small window looked out at the wall of another building. Heat, but not a breath of air, worked its way down from the rooftops. Joe turned off the air conditioner once he left the apartment, and I could never get completely dry. I sloshed into one set of my meager supply of work clothes. I had only 2 suits, both wool, but I had 2 reversible vests. I could make it look like I had 4 outfits, or 6, if I didn't wear a vest.
Beautiful. Next week will be a continuation on that. Thank you, George.
Stephanie.
Marvin.
Stephanie.
Huh?
Stephanie's next.
Oh, Stephanie. Sorry, Stephanie. It's Stephanie then Marvin. Sorry about that. See how he helps? Without him, I'd be doing what I just did, even more often. And give her a round. This is Stephanie Manning. If you know anything about La Promenade, that first Saturday series,
Come
she
the first Saturday in July, we're going to have Buford Bunton and Antoinette Payne be the features. So you come by. It's on.
It's a great venue.
It's a
Balboa and
Balboa and 38th Avenue.
38th Avenue, across from the
Balboa Theater.
There you go.
Out towards the ocean, beautiful to be out there. We have our own room, and that's very nice. Baby grand piano. Anyway, I was going to read this one first. Here we go. Igloo, Lumi, Pro, verses, blind in bower, each sees lie the vowels calmly. Night, the vanishing point darkly, recedes into distant outward journey, unknowable. Silence in the vacuum lie, vector approaching infinity. No, out, into unending space, darkness, silence, breathless, at warp speed, seeking elevation. And my friend in Nashville, Ann Leonard, who used to come to this reading, sent me this book, The Beat Poets, and this is by Marie Ponceau. Communion of Saints, the poor bastard under the bridge. The arrows of the narrow moon flock down direct into that looking hard by sand walls unprotected. Moonward, the eyes of that hurt head still will stare, and scarcely see the moonlight light spill, because black Notre Dame between her towers strikes home to him the third of this day's hours, and he, now man, heaped a cold a faint below the Pont Marie, will with a shout enlist among the triumphant when poor Saint Julien's bells will clock out 4. In his rags, unchapeletted, almost astray, among the dead packed all immaculate away, under the city he awaits his sentry, the 4 o'clock moon to warrant for his entry. Oh, and pure. The pure in children's ranks by bells immured, in gowns of light will singing telling rise, unfold their arms impelled without surprise, will lift up flowered laurel, will walk out among their golden singing, like a victor's shout, to their triumphant heaven's golden ringing brim, and welcome, welcome, welcome him. That's about homeless people in about 1930 or so. And then one last one. So Ann sent me this book about women of the Beat generation, and it's really very interesting. I hardly know some of these women. And this is this is part of the chapter about Helen Adam, who was one of the first Beats. And she was so early in it, they didn't even use the word beat. But anyway, her poem is called Apartment on Twin Peaks. And she spoke with a Scottish brogue, which I will not attempt to do.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And she read in a beautiful, languid way that defined poetry readings for many years after. Apartment on Twin Peaks. I remember when the moon shines clear, how I'd whisper in my husband's ear like a dentist saying, open wider. Don't you want to be a good provider? Don't you want to be the gracious host in a lovely home of which you're proud to boast? When my girlfriends come to call, we've got to have carpeting wall to wall. After the carpeting, he fought and bled, trapped in the jaws of the Davenport bed. He screamed as he vanished up the vacuum spout. In triple sealed bags, it spat him out. We chased his skull across the Twin Peaks stones. Maud's pet chihuahuas ate the rest of his bones. Another gnawed ghost, another gone man, another mild husband in the garbage can. Served up colder than his marriage vows on his bones-let chihuahua's brows.
There you go. I just gave her the attribution sheet, so if you read something by someone else, I hand you that and you let me know the name of the poet, so I don't always choose Rick Ricardo's version of Nanette Fabre's version of Aleister Crowley's 7 Days a Week.
Next we have Marvin.
Now we have Marvin,
Now we
thank
have
you.
Marvin.
And then we got Richard, David, me, Alice, Allie. Sorry, Allie. I said Allison. So
Okay. Tomato, tomato.
Really?
Okay, we need a quick Wikipedia before the poem. The day that Mary, Queen of Scots, lost her head, she wore a bright red brand new dress with a gigantic skirt for 2 reasons. 1, so the blood wouldn't show, and 2, because her little dog was underneath the skirt and she wanted to die with a little dog there. Off went the head, the little dog howled and ran off. Okay, this is to my favorite person in the world, Marilyn Monroe. Honey, all you ever wanted was a little bit of class. If the screaming screen had not been run by a dozen talented, jealous, totally whipped nitwits, you might have been unforgettable playing Hamlet, filmed in sepia, King Lear, minor drag, Elizabeth I, real pearl chokers, Catherine the Great on location, St. Petersburg, you two were always could have been such buddies. You were always desperate for a friend in high places. There's nothing or nobody you could not have done except Mary, Queen of Scots, would not have felt quite right. You would have hated that little dog yapping under your skirt. Sweetheart, I've always done my best for you. When the movie Bus Stop hit, I announced to a town of 5,000 low blood pressure, daily Jello Protestants that your portrayal was truly the finest in history. The locals howled for days, believing that yet another oversexed kid was about to hatch. Now, after a lifetime of the very best I know, your outshines us on Bus Stop presence truly is the best. Last night we saw The Prince and the Showgirl on TV. Nobody, let's just toss out gender for a minute, will ever be that irresistible with that much delicious class ever again.
Oh, Richard May, then David. Richard May, on 4th or 5th. Man,
I'm going to try and do the dialogue between Julius Caesar, that doesn't bode well, between Brutus and Mark Antony in the play Julius Caesar. So it's Act 3, Scene 2. Romans, countrymen and lovers, hear me for my cause, and be silent that you may hear. Censor me in your wisdom, awake your senses that you may the better judge. If there be any in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar's, to him I say that Brutus's love to Caesar was no less than his. If then that friend demand why Brutus rose against Caesar, this is my answer. Not that I loved Rome, not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. Had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves, than that Caesar were dead to live all free men? As Caesar loved me, I weep for him. As he was fortunate, I rejoice at it. As he was valiant, I honor him. But as he was ambitious, I slew him. There is tears for his love, joy for his fortune, honor for his valor, and death for his ambition. Who here is so base that would be a bondman? If any speak, for him have I offended. Who is here so rude that would not be a Roman? If any speak, for him have I offended. Who is here so vile that would not love his country? If any speak, for him have I offended. I pause for a reply. The reply. Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath said that Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man, so are they all honorable men, come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus has brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? When the poor have cried, Caesar has wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? I come not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you to mourn? O judgment, thou hast fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart lies there in a coffin with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. Thank you.
I'm telling you, that David May.
No,
Richard May.
Richard May, sorry. Then that was I'm getting everything mixed up. I didn't have my medication.
You're getting it in person by person, your poet medication.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you for that. Oh,
First, my favorite Carl Sandburg poem. On a flimmering flume you shall ride. Nobody noogers nobody noogers the shaft of a slough. Nobody slimbers a wench with a winch, nor higgles armed each with a niggle, and each the flimdrat of a smee, each the inbiddy hum of a smoo. then slong me dorst with the flag dorsch. Creep me deep with the crowbright. Let idle winds pludaddle the dorsches, and you, in the gold of the gloaming, you shall be sloam with the hoolriffs. On a flimmering flume you shall ride. They shall tell you, bedish and desist. On a flimmering flume you shall ride.
Who wrote that?
Carl. Carl Sandburg.
All right. Yeah, Flint Flamming. Tomfoolery.
Iota or iota. Iota, iota. The bunnies are collecting. They hide beneath my bed. An occasional twig or dead earwig. Or things best left unsaid. They hop and swirl and cling to things, avoiding at all cost dustpan, broom, in corners of the room, remaining forever lost. Circle is broken, Saturn burst a moon, sparkling ring for eons sings in universal gloom. Desert succulent, an inverted cloven hoof, matches sand color so subtly, this flora shifts your gaze unnoticed. Protective coloration, designing mimicry, escaping by standing still, remaining free to breed. Living ask for a trim, calling from within. Sun above the fog, transformation polywog, each egg a living dot. Lift lid and stir the pot, conceal, reveal, and heal. Kneel, knee pad lets me kneel. Fence border erect, separate, connect, appear or disappear by chipping with my shears, clipping with my shears. I can't read my own stuff. Pleasing to the eye while talking to the sky, tidal push and pull, my garden plot is full. Have you ever been called upon to expel the demons? You must look upon your own darkest desires first. They lurk just behind your reflection. Perhaps that's the attraction of monsters and bad guys. First comes exposure to light, then smelting and refinement. Be careful lest we drop the ball and find we aren't here at all. How short the verse that ends the skein. Uplift the falling of the rain. Mighty might be. It might be wine, it might be flora, endless varietal, we adore her. Reproduction or distilled egg, matrilineal boon to beg, characteristic trait or trance. In sun dust gathers, starts its dance, magnetic spark, electric jolt, metamorph, release the molt. My skin is yours, your skin is patterned. Satellite lens rings to Saturn. Plant root follows wormhole tunnel, hourglass becomes grain funnel. Bead, seed, microdot, hot pot rot, tool, cool, drool, or not. How am I doing for time?
You got about less than a minute.
Okay, thank you. Avail me not your sack of woe, I cease to drink your cup of joe. To each its own, a burden lift. Breathe in, exhale this furtive gift. A single ring, sublime the chime, nestled in the crook of rhyme. Climactic smack, this petrol troll, unbalancing both hot and cold. One blink extinct, they flutter by, condor, eagle, butterfly. Be careful lest we drop the ball and find we aren't here at all.
That's David.
Next, we have the host.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, this guy.
The furtive writer.
The furtive writer.
The free radical.
The fertile writer?
Free radical. Huh?
The fertile writer? Is it?
No. So, I'm going to begin with a thought experiment, and for this thought experiment, it's very helpful if you close your eyes. There's only 3 lines in this. The middle line is funny, but don't laugh until you hear the third line, because the third line is the punchline, and people laugh at the second line. They don't hear the third. Oh, Jesus. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
What do you think Trump and hump? Is that too much information? Just saying. I thought of that when I was not in my right mind. And I got 2 jokes for you. They're not really jokes, but you go up to somebody and you say, "Have you heard the news?" And they'll go, "No." And you say, "That's good." Or, "Yes, that's too bad." So you got them both ways. I love that. The timing is good for that, you know. So, I'm going to begin with the more serious of these 2. Mea culpa. People know what that means. Yes, mea culpa. And so, anyway, I'm just going to read it because you'll understand what I'm talking about. Surely by the time I get to the end. All right, here we go. Mea culpa. An open letter to the sons of the South, neo-Nazis, the KKK, and Mr. Toupee in chief. When you claim to speak for my race, appearing in my image, and so blemish my face, asserting you know the nature of my kind, I take issue with you. I now find I have to apologize for who I am, being what I am, that is to say a man in white, and for being colored by the lights others now see me by, thanks to you all. However, I assert that if they can speak for me, I can certainly speak for them. And I will say what apparently they cannot. I apologize. I apologize for their lack of consideration and patience, for their anger, the pain they cause, their egregious wrongs, for their blindness, deafness, and dumbness, the disaffection of corrupted religiosity, the general lack of fairness and justice, the horrific oppression of hope, the lack of food and clean water, the lack of care, the lack of freedom, the banks of abstract hate, the endless woes of warfare, and the death and dying done unto others, the racism and genocides all through history, as well as for those which continue on today, even as I speak. My friends, and from my soul I apologize for all that and more, even as I survey, although through a glass darkly, the vast, lifeless, and dismal plains, suffering in the abyssal deeps of the revulsion I find at those who claim to speak for my kind, and still in public make displays as they double down on the errors of their ways. Triple down really, but you know. And so now this speaks to all that. Time. That's the name of this. Time comes and goes, almost unnoticed, unremarkable, except for the changes we seem to think go along with it. What a strange concept, which is to say, untrue. So much so that we'd have to invent the concurrence for our own sakes, not to mention those of others. Now, magicians use this feat all the time. And we, the duped, ever and always, find no end of fascination with what they have us see. The truth be damned. Thank you.
Who's the next one?
We have Ms. Ali Rigby.
Oh, Ali Rigby is back. Give a nice round of applause. And then we have our feature of the evening. Paragraph 6, as we say. There we go. Now we're talking about business.
We're good.
Yes.
Thanks. Cool.
Just get really close though. There you go.
Okay. Hi. See if I have time for 2 poems. For the word of the day, which is in action, 1 word. My first poem's pretty heavy. It covers a topic that is pretty taboo, but I think in the spirit of inaction, I want to read it even more. A little bit of history. My aunt has been telling me a lot about my family history, and some darker things have come out too, but I just want to continue important conversations. Anyway, this poem is called Quiet. A house cut down does not fall silently. Owl wings fly over frozen cornfields silently. Shh. My grandfather left the Iowa homestead. I can hear his footsteps 50 feet away. Chicago with his parents. Archie was blind now. Fonda was fallow. Owl wings. Shh. My grandfather's name was George. He did not say goodbye to his brother. Shotgun in the barn. The wood creaked and slouched and sagged when I visited, like the gravitational pressure of prairie air was too much, even no, especially for the barn. Shh. My dad didn't want us to know. Shh. I cannot know dry prairie blood without knowing Earl. I cannot shovel fallow dirt without packing east for books and answers. I am no owl. I hunt with mouth open. I scream into prairie wind, begging fallow fields for answers. Two minutes? 1 minute? What do I have?
You got a couple. 2.5.
Okay, great. I'm gonna read one called Snapped. It's definitely influenced by the poet Arthur Z. And that's that. I want to give also a quick shout out to someone really special watching this live at home who helped me out a lot today when I was feeling sad. He knows who he is. Okay, Snapped. Snapped sycamore twigs crawl to river like whiptails. I catch the robotic pivot of little spiders in tsunami waves of curled bark. Andromeda feasts on rubber soles, her boots glinting in bolinas. I do not know who died with Geronimo. When will it be theirs again? Ugh, sorrow. It is not mine to cry. I am no leaf swimming, swift as beaks. All I wanted is to touch rocks, hear kitten warmth purring. Sun is a leaf chewed like gum. She will explode just like Mrs. Mazza. Go outside, Allie. The colored pencils I snapped on Kevin Wong's chair in 2nd grade. Snapped when he sat down and I laughed too loud. I was born tomorrow, gnawing on bleached antlers, like a rat of sycamore origin. My bones are next, I know this. Will the country sustain hatred still? Ah, switch it. Underneath this woodpecker raucous, in my brain there is soil with water. I heard the jet brush dark on light sky and had one wish. Juniper puzzle, the pieces back together, like old woman dropping boulders for mountains. Let children be with their mothers at borders. The sun will explode soon. It is warm today. Let's feel it. I will drink water, slam back atoms, sore throat, gurgles, spit snow, tongue clean. I do.
All right. He said, don't quote me. All right.
Am I okay on that? Am I okay? Thank you. All right. Haha, he's over there innocently reading, pretending that I'm not looking at him and talking about it. That's an old joke, never mind. All right. Brett, our feature of the evening. Give him a round of applause right now, just for the heck of it. Now, I first met him here. Isn't that right? I first met him here. He came in the door and he read, and over the months I got to know him. And of course, one of the things I quickly discovered was that he was a teacher, as I had been a teacher. And so we shared perspectives and told stories back and forth about things we had done and things that are our pet peeves. And we had similar pet peeves, actually. Things haven't changed. But in his poetry, sometimes he really expresses that aspect of our social structure, the teaching structure, what happens to a teacher, with a teacher, in a classroom, with kids, and how the different aspects of a very, very complex circumstance. Now, you'll be interested in this statistic. They did a study, a scientific study, someone's doing research for something, and they were trying to determine the stress levels of particular careers. And the method that they used to determine the stress level of a particular career was how many decisions a person made in a given increment of time, whether it was a minute or 10 minutes or half hour. Teaching came in second. Brain surgery was first. Because the number of decisions that person has to make in the time that he has or she has to make those decisions, and the import of those decisions, like you don't want to hear your brain surgery, you go, oops, you don't want to hear that word on time. And with teaching, it's a similar thing. You know, mistakes can be made, and it's just really very difficult to recover from them. And sometimes miracles happen before your very eyes. I'm sure you've seen that. Miracles and amazing things, and students that, for me, once were 7-year-olds are now, you know, I meet them as adults and they still recognize me. And I always say, yes, I remember your eyes, or something like that. You know, I never say I don't remember. I did that once, I'll never do that. No, who are you? Who do you remember? But to get back to Brett and his writing, he's dramatic, he's exact, he pictures things as they are. It's always good to hear what he has to say. And he has a good, solid voice. It's not like one of these type of people. You hear him, he has something to say, it's worthwhile, and we're going to have a good time right now. I don't know what he's going to do, but it's going to be great. So give him a nice round as he comes up here. Brett Benson, the amazing, the wonderful.
Dad, could you move the mic back just a bit?
Like this?
That way.
Oh, this way.
It's a little, it's hard, yeah.
Okay, just make sure that we have this right for him.
Yep.
Is this right? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Right for you.
Go down.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
really close. There we go.
Unless you want to face out more.
I appreciate it.
All right, how's everybody doing?
We be good.
Good. Okay. I have short and long stuff. Feel free to clap, or another thing that, if you want. But another thing too that I've seen at other meetings and stuff I've done with teaching and other open mics, feel free to also just snap or just wave your hands, like, if you want to as well. Just because, like, it's, yeah, it can be a lot if, you know, going back and forth. So just want to throw that out there. Benevolence is like painting, easy to mimic, treacherous in search of absolute mastery. This first one is called Circles. Foundation for peace of mind. Mind is linear thought. Thought betraying belief. Belief to enact dreams. Dreams showing reason. A reason drawing purpose. Purpose in foundation. Listening. Maintain the ability to listen, my friend, and forgive if necessary. Such is the repetitive nature of mortals to be absent of rational thought sometimes. We speak in tongues which may breathe poison and chaos into our relationships, our respective surroundings. It may have been an unintentional occurrence. And as we are quick to respond in such times, recall the capacity for human error. Do not react as dogs, who are fast to fight if a confrontation lives near. Exhibit the immortal traits of patience and self-control. A human may be calm when it suits them favorably, but the gods are calm in the eye of the storm. Purposed is such the knowledge that we, as humans, we're great. The key is to never stop trying to be great, to be better than I was yesterday or the day before that. Romance. As colors of light from all streaks of life dance across your glimmering face, I count the sparkles in your eyes to tell me this is such a wondrous place. Air may lead me to breathe, but you cause my blood to race. No matter the time or day, when it comes to your beauty, my soul is longing for your touch, and my heart can never keep pace. Relentless. Walk through the damn fire till the burn shakes your feet to your head, to your very core. For the goal is never to be afraid of a challenge, but to follow courses, no matter how hot those rains may pour. Underwater cages. A whale's world, almost limitless, as far as oceans may travel, and depths of canyons in the Pacific may run. A lifetime of adventures, any opportunities where the waves may roam. But when the giants are set to cages and demanded to perform with rewards and punishments, how can we say that a beast will not rebel against its incarceration? Questions, questions, questions. Speak as you would be spoken to and act as you would be acted upon, I heard once a coach say. How could we not seek to live on such terms, to live in great form as people may have once done in the past or not? When dark clouds have occupied a soul for so long, why did the heart go so cold? Was it bitterness? Towards whom? Anger had overcome the senses as the 100-year winter in Narnia. How does one cleanse a mentality laying dormant for so long a period of time? By changing the daily routine to create a better world. And damn, that is hard. Create better world by being better, or looking for a better world. What is the nature of existence? What is at the core? How do we get there? Why are we here? Where do we come from? Into the infinite of questions we could read, write, discuss, and contemplate. But will people? Will I? Will the masses attempt to discuss things in order to make a better world? Making observations on the current state of affairs might not allow us to clearly observe what the world wants, as many people do not make decisions independently. Rather, I often follow what the TV tells me to believe. So, in collecting false data, we debate a world based on false premises. How do we really see the world and take the pulse of its people? By living with purpose. How do you make the multitudes come awake from a sleep which has gone on so long that the majority no longer realizes they have been given sedatives called sports to form compliance with authority? Light a fire in their hearts. Create a sense of new hope in the spirit. And show the mind how wondrous a world can be when we explore the biggest, most extravagant questions the mind can conceive of. Question existence. We were not made to be docile. We were made to be thinking, exploring, wondering, curious, inquisitive, debating, beautiful beings, sentient, mythical. I wonder. We are writers from all the right reasons. At least most of us are. Moving the cosmos is a great responsibility. How magnificent the task. How fantastic the possibility. To create anything and everything. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Some have proposed theories. Many have taken guesses. Which is right? Only Carol knew for certain. Shifting paradigms. I was a castaway on an island that had yet to exist in the known discovery of human affairs. My presence alone was enough for banishment, for any who speak in opposition to mainstream thought are ostracized, right, rather than debated. Debate requires facts, and most people do not want to obtain said facts for the simple and dagger-like fear of being stabbed with the acquiring reality we do not know, and the proving the false of our principles we once thought to be solid foundation. Man, sometimes paradigms stab difficultly. Whales in the sky. There were whales in the sky, flying as birds can along currents, in the free air and heights visible to us on the ground. The nighttime sky was blue, a dark, heavy set blue that had seen many trips by flying sentient beings. The forefront whale was also a brilliant shade of blue, cobalt to the sky. He glided effortlessly, as though he was meant to fly and not swim. His friends, thousands of manta rays, flew by his side. There is so much to speculate on, as to note the blue Milky Way. almost like a current in the deep open ocean. The nighttime sky is beautiful with stars and numerous fellows headed in every direction. A whale like our friend is a peaceful creature, almost dancing in the sky. I would love to be in a world where whales appeared weightless in the cosmos. Depths. I swam to the depths to escape drowning in the waves and ways of shallow living, the deep, dark ocean full of mystery and wonder. Unwell. I was sick when I first began to write. Currently and more sublimely, I am less sick. I felt the cold, dark touch of solitude in the depths of shaky bones. Now the bones are less shaky, if only for a moment. So, coming to terms with uncertainty, the imperfect nature of human consciousness, the okay factor with not needing others' acceptance to justify your persistence, to be, just to be, and comprehend life. Knowing that there are certain changes you can't affect, certain events not within reach of control, coming to terms with the difference between control and uncontrolled. A long series of reflections to be had, inquiries to be instituted. Such a frightening prospect. Never easy. This realm we accept as mortality. Why do you write? When asked, why do you write? Don't say something boring and standard such as, I write to release my feelings. Say something bold, daring, and unpredictable, such as, I'm setting the world on freaking fire by writing, nay, dictating a part of my brain where guts and blood are often spilled to sacrifice an unknown entity. Then, when they stare at you with the look of sheer terror and bewilderment, then you know you have something on the right track. Then again, what is the right track? It's a valid question. There are lots of valid questions in life. Okay. I don't know if they're watching, but I told some former students who are now 18 and graduated about this. I don't talk to the kids who are still in high school, because I like my job, like keeping it. I teach, Dan was saying before, I teach high school seniors, because I have a death wish, but it's just, it's kind of, they keep you young in this way that you want to pull out your hair, but yeah, they're a lot of fun. This one is for the young women who, I just was thinking about them going into the world that we have with all the things going on and the douchebag of a president we have. Yeah, this is for them. It's called Growing Up. At birth, the colors in her room were pink, red, and purple. At 3 years old, she had the first comment on her clothes made. At 7, she was given a tea set when she really wanted a spaceship. At 9, she had a boy in her grade who would not leave her alone. At 12, she was told by advertisers to start wearing makeup. At 13, she was made fun of for her first natural cycle. At 14, she remembers seeing her friend sexually assaulted out in public. At 15, social media told her to wear less clothes. At 16, she was called derogatory names for either side of her sexual choices. At 17, she was openly made fun of for being good at math. At 18, she saw one woman's small local business owner out of hundreds. And yet, despite the rage that built up, she learned to let it go. She's not listening anymore. She's following her dream. There's an old man around the corner. I don't know his name. I've seen him several times. He's pushing a shopping cart. He has an entire life in 3x4 feet. And damn, whenever I see him and I drive by, I just want to say, I hope I can help you at some point. Because tonight I have a roof. And once again, I still have gratitude. graduating. I stopped telling my students what to think and started teaching them how to think. Thus, their liberation came by their own minds. This is a work in progress. We'll see where this goes. It's called If You Need to Hear This. If you need to hear this today, you are fine the way you are. And don't take it from me. Take it from the mirror. Look deep down into what you call the soul that's looking back at you. It doesn't matter how big you are, what color you are, what gender you are, what society has labeled upon you. What matters is that you are fucking marvelous. Why is that so significant? Because issues of people saying words that cut deep to others hasn't stopped. And social media has not helped, from my not so humble opinion. I want you to know today that I may not even know you. I may not know your name. We may speak different languages. We may believe in different deities. Hell, we may not know that each other literally exist. But if you need this today, if you need this, just know that if you're being good to yourself and good to others and to the environment, that's enough. That's all you need today. Not to prove something to someone else on the outside, the other. Screw the other for a minute. Go inside, because the divinity, that's within you, and no one can take that shit away. That won't be the first time my students have heard me swear. I get jacked up in class, and they're seniors. They're like, oh, I haven't heard that. I'm like, yes, you have. Don't lie. A couple of haikus. 2012. Snooky's precious child, born December 21st. Hey, Mayans, well played. And the world, yeah, okay. It was funnier 7 years ago. Yeah. A haiku originally called persecute, but now to some people in my family. Jesus taught love, right? Not to hate other people. You got that, douchebag? And since we're on that topic, modern times. Hey, Alabama, chill out. The Handmaid's Tale is not instructions. Because never mind. Yeah, we don't even need to get there. Yeah, just got really awkward. It's just more fun that way. You know what I do, just as a side, because I'm trying to get the nerves out, when I'm in class and the students are on their phones, because like we're all addicted now, and they're texting and they're not supposed to be, I go up and I say, hey, listen, I know you're trending on Twitter, and I know that you are Justin Bieber's fan club president, but the texting has to stop, because otherwise you're going to drive me mad. And you know what? It usually works. I hope one day that you see yourself the way I see you. Take it for what it is. Just know, once again, that we're here in this time and space, and that's a beautiful thing, because it's over like that. So, eat the piece of cheesecake, walk into the ocean, smell the fresh air on that mountain hike, go through a wildflower meadow, whatever it may be. Happiness, it is possible. it's never very far away. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, that's it! Our teacher of the evening. All right. That was good. Good, that was great. We loved it.
Yep.
We're going to take a break now for the second show. Peter will bring us back. He is the last bard. So take a break. I'm going to pause this thing so that you don't have to worry about having the CIA, do their thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's fun. I like it. I'm looking at the time.